Now, as Jesus was going up to Jerusalem, he took the 12 disciples aside and said to them, "We're going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be betrayed to the chief priests and teachers of the law. They will condemn him to death and turn him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and flogged and crucified. On the third day, he will be risen to life." Now that's all fine and good, Owen. But at the end of the day, my thirst for history isn't quite satiated. Oh, hi. I'm Biff Sammons. Thanks for joining us for our very first episode of Christ Unleashed. Owen, today we're going to talk about Jesus, the real Jesus. Not Jesus Christ, but Jesus of Nazareth, the real deal. You think you know Christ? Today we're going to crack open the books and we're going to take a look at the historical Jesus. Let's go. Let's talk about what we know. There's very little historical record of Jesus of Nazareth, but he was a preacher of Judaism. He led a popular messianic movement, one of many during his time, but Jesus referred to himself as the Messiah in strictly the Jewish sense. Not as the Son of God, but rather a descendant of King David. Now, he sought to displace Roman rule and reestablish David's kingdom on earth. So let's go to our next segment, Hit or Myth. Family. Hit or Myth's a game we like to play with our family here at Christ Unleashed. It's a little game where we take our favorite pieces of scripture and try to separate fact from fiction, truth from baloney, hit from myth.
You say that to my face, you swine! Don't let me catch you here again. Oh, I gotta go. Love you.
Oh, Owen, hit or myth? Jesus was born in Bethlehem. You don't know? It's actually a myth. Jesus was most likely born in Galilee between the years of 4 BCE and 6 CE. He most likely wasn't even born in a manger. Who knew? That's a myth. Welcome back to Hit or Myth. We're here with a very special guest, a very special edition of this program. Jesus of Nazareth is in the studio. Let's get right into it. Jesus, it says in here, the Holy Bible, that you were baptized by a man named John the Baptist. Is that a hit or a myth?
Well, as it turns out, the consensus among historians is that that probably did indeed happen.
That's a hit! Come on. Brew! Oh. Hit or myth? Jesus was put on trial and sentenced to death. That's right, this one's another myth. Well, Jesus was certainly sentenced to death. Pontius Pilate, the governor of Jerusalem, seldom granted trials. This is most likely how it went down. Let's introduce this next bit by reading a passage from Reza Aslan's Zealot, The Life and Times of Jesus of Nazareth. Still, Jesus and his disciples will not be taken easily. One of them draws his sword, and a brief melee ensues, in which a servant of the high priest is injured.
Oh Jesus, yeah, by order of Pontius Pilate, you gotta come with me.
Don't worry, Jesus, I've got this. Resistance is useless, however, and the disciples are forced to abandon their master and flee into the night as Jesus is seized, bound, and dragged back into the city to face his accusers.
What do we got here? Jesus, huh? Another Messiah. Bring him in.
Get in there, dirt face.
Well, Jesus of Nazareth, it says here that you claim to be the King of the Jews. Is that true?
It is true.
Well, nail him up like all the other messiahs. I ain't got all day.
Let's go. If Jesus did have a trial, it was most likely short and insignificant. In fact, he and Pontius Pilate were most likely never in the same room. But what we know is this: Jesus was most certainly sentenced to death for acts of sedition and crucified. The historic documentation of Jesus' crucifixion is muddled by fictitious gospel interpolation. The most significant and consequential of which originates from the Gospel of Mark, in which the blame for Jesus' death is removed from the Roman state and instead placed on the Jewish public, for which there is no basis. In this contrived account, Pontius Pilate is forced by the angry Jewish public to crucify Jesus. This is a common falsity in many of the Gospels, and has blazed the trail for Christian anti-Semitism for thousands of years to come. Jesus' legacy lived on. As Josephus describes in his Antiquities of the Jews, his brother James actually took over his movement until he himself was sentenced to death in 62 AD by a high priest named Ananus ben Ananus. Now, some historians doubt that Jesus was related really to this guy James, but the general consensus among historians is that his relation to Jesus, as described in Josephus' Antiquities, is authentic. Oh, there's James now, mourning the death of his brother Jesus. So how did Jesus' movement turn into Christianity as we know it today? Well, it all starts with Paul. You see, Paul claims to have had a dream where he encountered Jesus, and to have been chosen as the first apostle while he was still in the womb, despite never having met Jesus during his life. While James wanted to follow Jesus' teachings more faithfully, Paul had ideas of his own. It was after this dream that James devised the idea of Jesus not just as some Jewish peasant turned Messiah, but as a literal divine entity and the Son of God. These ideas were outrageous to James and the rest of Jesus' Jewish followers. But Jesus of Nazareth was dead, and Jesus Christ had just been born. Ah, yes. It's a very popular way to depict Jesus. Tall, white, handsome. Not very realistic, though. I think we've learned today that Jesus Christ and Jesus of Nazareth are very much two different people. To conclude, let's take a look at what Jesus most likely would have looked like.